Good morning, rockers. This is Global Reverb. A couple of tips for this morning. I'd like to show you a couple of things that I do in the studio, and I put a few tunes together week to week, and this is a basic understanding of how I might make a beat. What I'm doing at the moment is a lot of reggae and dub kind of music, which tends to be between 75 and 85 up to 90 beats a minute. Of course it can be faster, it can be 120, 130. Then we're starting to go into dance music. And I'm not really trying to make dance music. I want to make more sort of roots reggae type dub tunes. And in order to do that, I have to put everything together at home on samplers and make rhythms from hits, kicks and snares. First of all, I just wanted to show you that the tempo has to be right. If you're not using the right tempo, if you're going too quick or too slow, you're not going to be able to get the same vibe that you have in your head. And in order for you to get the vibe right, or to get the rhythm right, all you do is you sort of tap your foot to the rhythm you have in mind, and then hit your tap tempo button on your sampler or your sequencer, and you should get a pretty rough approximate of what that tempo is. Myself, I'm just doing 75 beats a minute here, because if I double it up, it'll be 150 beats a minute, which is pretty fast. So 75 beats is pretty chilled out, and that's the tempo I want to use today. Also, if we look down our list of things on the sequencer, the time signature is 4/4. That's normal and that's expected from most music. Of course, you can change to 3/4 or whatever else you like. You can experiment and play around. But most people make a lot of music at 120 beats a minute and in 4/4. You don't have to do 120 beats a minute, because that's kind of just what popular music and pop music generally is at the tempo at. I'll show you here that 75 beats a minute, 4/4. 2 bars is too short for me. 2 bars means a very short loop, so if you make a bass line, it's kind of just a bass couple of notes that loop around every 2 bars. That's too short. I prefer to have 8 bars, although most people work 4 bars. I like 8 because it's a longer loop and the bass line sounds more human and lively. So 8 bars with a roll in the drums somewhere around the 8 bar mark or the 4 bar mark to make it sound more lively and human. Alright, so I'm kicking off at 75 beats a minute in 4/4 and 8 bars. So I can't afford to just stop hitting the pads after a certain amount of bars. I need to sort of stay focused and play all the way through 8 bars. What I do here on the keypad is that I always make the first row of keypads into kicks. The second row of pads I always make snares, and then hi-hats in the third column. All of these are real drum hits, but sometimes I use kicks that are synthesized, or 808 kicks or 909 kicks, because they're pretty solid. I like to put real drum sounds on top of that. And usually the last track I have sort of sound effects or splash or crash cymbals. Yeah, some sound effects and things in the last column. If you always set up your system the same way, kicks, snares, hats, you know what to expect when you're playing live, and some effects, then you can pretty much hit any drum sample that you've got or any drum pad that you've got, and you can play any tune knowing comfortably what you're going to be hitting and when you're going to be hitting it. I like to do that. Some people like to vary their beats all the time, or put different sorts of beats on different sorts of pads. That's okay too. But I think if you have a system of doing things, it makes life easier in the long run, and therefore I always put kicks, snares, hats, effects or crashes when I do my drum pads. You do it however you want, and you don't even have to do it the tempo that I'm doing it at. I just like a nice slow tempo because that's the tempo I'm going for. In reggae music and roots music, what you tend to hear is the thing they call a 3-drop. The 3-drop is when the snare and kick land on the 3rd beat of the bar. So that means the music's actually quite slow compared to a lot of pop music, where the drop is usually on the 2 and on the 4, where you hear the snare hit. I'll give you an example of what this sounds like when we just do the 3-drop. So the snare lands on the 3rd beat. Okay, very, very simple. Kick, snare, little roll at the end of the 4. Sounds like this on its own. Pretty ordinary, nothing special here. So I'm going to fatten it up with some more kicks. Okay. Also with a kick landing on the 3. Okay, still pretty ordinary. What I'm going to do is put some rolling percussion on there, and I'll do that at 132. Sounds like this. This will lively it up a little. Okay, so that's just kick and snare. Pretty straightforward. Not even that interesting until I go to the next track. And on track 2, I'm going to put hats on the offbeat. Let's try that. Okay, the hats are on the offbeat. This is what it sounds like with effects. Almost sounds like drum and bass at this point, but what we're going for is we're going to mute out track 1 and 2. And I'm going to do the same thing again on track 3. So I'm going to put another kick snare track with the 3 drop. Okay. Sounds immensely slow. I know that. So I'm going to add a little kick and snare ready. Track 4. Another set of hi-hats. This time on the beat. And a little extra pepper in the back of that. Okay, let's hear what that sounds like. Okay, I've got a crash that I can throw at the beginning of this beat. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. So it's very simple stuff. The first kick and snare. Hats. It's 150 beats a minute, really. Alright, there's a dance track. Let's check this out more. Kick and snare. Yeah, that's 75 beats a minute, or if you really listen to the thrusting of that backbeat on there, you could say it's 150 beats a minute. And all you need after that is a bass line. Let's play around for a second. Okay, that was ridiculous. What does that ridiculousness sound like with that drum beat? I'll cut out the beats. Here are the effects. You can hear it's starting to sound dubbier. And now here's the rhythm.